head, and there he goes. Abyss gonna clean him up.
Olaf goes down. Everyone's just gonna line up here for Lazzy. He's gonna find himself the Quadra. Give it to him. Pentakill.
Priestley with the quad feet.
Gets the ace. Available just spin to win all over.
That game was insane.
Hello and welcome to another night of League of Legends actions here on the Saints Gaming channel. My name, as always, is Shadi Zedihana, and alongside me, of course, the legendary, the one and only Mr. Dan Banners. Danners, I see you brought company tonight.
Apparently I'm getting ganked IRL to start things off here tonight, but it's going to be just the first of many with the action that we're about to get underway with. And in true collegiate fashion, or actually I can't even blame on collegiate. We're in the Upsurge minor leagues now. This isn't even strictly collegiate. We're already actually hopping into a drops phase. So we're going to do a little bit more introduction as we see the initial bands getting underway. Apologize for the quick hop into the swing of things, but of course our opponents for tonight is going to be the Wichita Wolves, one of many of the Wichita Wolves squad. You were telling me earlier they basically have they have teams in many games, and oftentimes many teams for each game individually. So looking forward to seeing what this squad can do. The Saints are going to be up against some tough opponents.
I've heard some really good things about this team. As you were saying, we are currently tonight playing against the Wichita Wolves Red. They have Wichita Wolves Black, I believe, also in the Upsurge Minor League, but in a different division. So we'll only be playing this iteration of the team, but should be a good matchup tonight. But without further ado, let's take a look at this pick and ban phase already. Liking the Senna pickup from Wichita Wolves. I've been seeing this build getting a little bit more popular recently. It's a Gwynsu's Rageblade Senna, where you basically go for the on-hit attack kind of build, as opposed to the raw burst armor pen builds that we were seeing previously, like the traditional Mana Immune into Black Cleaver path. Now we're seeing like Kraken Slayer into Gwynsu's Rageblade on a champion like Senna, which typically is not pumping out attacks at such a rapid pace. It's a very interesting build, but it has been quite successful so far. So I'm really interested to see how it plays out.
And a couple bands already, and a couple picks already on the board. No Seraphine this time, no Moonstone shenanigans to start off this first matchup. Of course, still best of 3 action here in the Upsurge minor leagues. And the first pick's also getting picked up. We were saying, of course, Deku going to be picking the Senna, probably for triple lift there. Like the name. But then on the side of the Saints, they let through the Nunu for Active Force, so I'm sure he's happy about that. And then the Misfortune going to be picked up by Lazzy, which oddly enough, Kai'Sa's still on the board, but he went for something different.
Yeah, Kai'Sa has been getting that pick or ban treatment recently. I think I like the Misfortune pick a little bit better because it does let you kind of play into the Senna from a range. You can use your Make It Rain to poke from a safe distance, whereas Kai'Sa has to get up nice and close, where she kind of gets abused by Senna's much longer range in the early game, and of course it increasingly scales as she collects those souls. So it does make Kai'Sa's job a little bit more awkward to play. But these 2 picks coming up from Wichita Wolves are incredibly scary because you're combining 2 global abilities together into a comp that's going to be playing around this bot side. Now, obviously, the Senna is flexed, but I'm 99% sure that's going ADC. So currently, we already see 3 carries being locked in for the side of Wichita Wolves. With that global Talia ulti combined with the global Galio ulti means that bot lane is going to be a skirmish fest this entire game.
Well, that might be a little bit nasty, and I guess it's okay then for Lazzy to have the Misfortune with something a little bit more aggression to possibly fight back, but at the same time, though, still no real mobility. So you get jumped on under tower, you're still probably out of luck. Granted, Miensfo is going to be picking up the Leona for game number 1. Tried and true champion pick for himself, trying to keep Lazzy alive whenever those inevitable dives do end up happening. And I think I was listening to it was either LEC or LCS, where someone was saying that basically the standard nowadays is you pick 2 global champions, and not including teleports, and you basically like increased your chances of winning like tenfold.
Yeah, the meta has really shifted to kind of discourage teams from split pushing. With how popular neutral objectives are. Typically, if there's not a neutral objective to fight over, this is of course at the highest level of play that we're talking about here. So we do see some of that trickle down into collegiate. But at the highest level of play, if there's not a neutral objective to fight for, teams are often just kind of playing out their side lanes and looking to kind of contest vision in key pockets. But you don't really see teams commit to 1-4 split pushes anymore. And that's because of how popular and powerful teleports and globals are. It's very hard to put yourself in a position where you feel like you're 1v1 when the enemy team can always collapse on you no matter where you are. That's why we see Pantheon getting picked up every game. That's why we see Galio getting picked up every game. That's why Talia has just randomly out of the blue become so meta, is because she can impact the map in such a meaningful way. So following off of that, this Camille ban from St. Clair is really intelligent because it denies Wichita from taking that Camille Galio combo and limits their ability to go for these long-range tower dives.
And one thing I'd be worried about here for the side of St. Clair is if a Twisted Fate kind of came into play here, since it's not banned, and it would just add on to the absolute disgusting global plays here. But it's looking like Puffles MIA here might be looking at Azir instead, which is of course still a very fantastic pick. And as per usual here for St. Clair, going to be keeping their mid their cards in that regard close to their chest, let Frez get the counter pick what he wants. And then what makes me a little bit happy, of course, is we got the Gnarly Gnar coming out here for Kuberg, one of his strongest champs, I would say, this season, at least on stream. It's still got one more pick here to go on the side of the Wichita Wolves to just round out this team composition. Of course, a lot of these champs can go basically anywhere, and sure enough, it's going to be the Ornn up in the top lane. It's probably going to be Deku picking that one up. So that's a beefy squad here for the Wolves.
It's interesting that you say that, because as soon as you called the Galio and you said, here comes the Twisted Fate, I'm scratching my head thinking, isn't Galio going mid? And it turns out he's not, or at least that's not what he set up to be. Uh-oh, was there a bug there? Looks like somebody disconnected. That's a little unfortunate. We just got to the end of that drafting phase. It looks like St. Clair did pick up the Ziggs for themselves. But yes, it looks like the Galio is actually, if that draft is to be believed, it looks like the Galio is being flexed as a support and not a mid laner. Meaning that there's no angle for Twisted Fate here. We've got the Azir locked in now for mid lane, so that comp is set and solid. Looks like just a couple seconds you're trying to figure out what's going on. Dan, do you have any updates for us?
So it looks like Fediware on the side of the Wolves unfortunately disconnected midway. So like right at the very tail end there, we saw the Ziggs, which is something that we don't normally see out of the Saint side of things, nor we don't know too much about the Wolves to know that for sure. But has Ziggs been something Frez has been picking up?
I hear he's been playing it in solo queue a little bit. I know Active Force was really pushing him to play it because he personally loves the champion. I think the champ actually is quite strong in the metagame. He goes pretty unnoticed, but for the most part. But there is a lot of potential for strong team collaborative turret pushes with Ziggs, and considering the fact that basically Rift Herald plus Ziggs equals Dead Tower at basically any stage in the game, it's a really strong pick for just accelerating a lead, which is exactly what the St. Clair comp needs to do. You're running Misfortune, you're running Noonan, and now you're running this Ziggs combined with this like champion that can really clear through objectives quickly. Like every Herald needs to go St. Clair's way or this comp is going to fall apart. So I really hope that they can play into that win condition, identify that win condition, and then play into it ruthlessly. Whereas Wichita Wolves, they're really trying to delay the pace of the game. So if we're looking at this objectively, St. Clair is actually quite favored here because they're able to accelerate the game at such a pace that it's almost impossible for Wichita to be able to hold them down. And here we are back into the drafting phase again. There will be no champion swaps, just reselecting everything that has been previously picked as we get ready to get into game number 1.
Yeah, just double checking to make sure nothing got switched up a little bit. But yeah, sure enough, Frez on the Ziggs, we're going to have to see exactly what you're talking about if the Saints can get themselves the early lead and then just keep on like extending that lead from there. Because I would be quite worried looking at this Wichita Wolves squad as the later this game goes on. I mean, we see Azir, who's just an absolute monster at like mid to late game as well, from what I understand, being able to poke from a safe distance as well and do a ton of damage while being a playmaker in himself. Not to mention how beefy that Wichita Wolves squad is, so that Senna triple lift on the side of the Wolves is going to be feeling nice and safe as this game moves forward. Because in reality, you've got, okay, Kubert's got to like blow his jump to get on in. Nunu, he kind of crawls into the fight, and it's all going to be on to Miensfo's Leona to really make the engagements happen, unless Kuber can manage to find a raged Gnar ulti, but it takes some setup to make that work.
There is, of course, another way of looking at this. There is a lot of peel available to Wichita Wolves here. You have, of course, champions like Ornn, which are incredibly good at healing and engaging. You have Galio, who's such a good anti-dive character. Azir and Talia, both with the ability to create player-made terrain, to kind of push off champs like the Nunu or like the Gnar that like to walk into these team fights. The issue for Wichita, however, is that in order for them to be able to peel, they're not able to take those engages, because as soon as they commit those abilities to get into the fight, they don't have them as a way out. And on St. Clair, we have Ziggs and Misfortune, two of some of the best poking champions in the game, that can kind of lay a slow siege at the beginning of a fight to lower the health bars of Wichita Wolves and then allow for that dive to happen cleanly. So as long as St. Clair plays these fights slowly as they enter the mid game, you know, take advantage of the fact that they should have this lead coming out of the early game and abuse that pressure, that extra damage to push in slowly onto those towers, I can very easily see this game one going St. Clair's way. Of course, draft is just the draft. It all comes down to execution, and I'm excited to see how these teams pilot this game one.
Definitely looking forward to it. Hoping to see the Saints kind of keep their momentum going here. They've had a ton of games already so far this season across multiple different leagues, which is something I'm usually not too accustomed to. Normally we see the League of Legends team, maybe they have one game on the weekend and that's about it. Maybe they have one collegiate league like on a Wednesday or something and that's about it. But now like your team is playing 3 games a week, let alone practices and VOD review. So I appreciate how hard they're going at it in regards to the practice and whatnot. And then even taking the extra step further to even sign up for Upsurge Minor, which of course it takes the comfort zone of it being strictly a collegiate league, and it completely taken that away. So now, like, no limit. This is the amateur scene. You don't know what you're going up against. It could be anybody, which is extremely exciting and an extremely fantastic challenge for our Saints squad. Took one win. Looking forward to seeing how they do the rest of the season as well. If they can manage to squeak another one and keep their flawless streak alive here.
Yeah, St. Clair, like this team, I obviously have the pleasure to work with this team from the coaching side of things. And they've really adapted to this new schedule. Previously, in previous iterations of the team, I felt that, you know, just a little bit more practice and a little bit more game time can really help solidify and clean up some of these areas that we seem to be struggling in. And the team has really responded to that positively. As you mentioned, we were playing games on Monday in Upsurge Minor, on Wednesdays in OPSE, in Saturday we're doing CLOL. Sometimes we'll do a scrim. We do a VOD review once a week. So it's anywhere between 4 to 5 nights a week that these guys are committing, you know, a decent portion of their time to this, and it's really just great and inspiring to see that from them. So obviously I'm very thankful to have a team that's willing to kind of commit those hours and that time in and get that practice down. And so far it's been paying off. As far as I recall, except for one scrim, we have never been wiped in a set. And there were all sorts of wipes. We were getting 0-2'd all the time or whatever. And now this season, like, we're taking games off of teams that we shouldn't be taking games off of. We're 2-0ing scrims and games against teams, you know, that should be putting up a fight. So they've already shown a tremendous amount of growth since the fall, and I'm truly blessed to be able to work with these guys, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they improve over the course of the season.
Yeah, because of course, for all of us joining in who may not know, of course, like Shadi, how does he have all this insight? Shadi, of course, is the coach here of this League of Legends team. Started off in the coaching the club scene, and now back here in the varsity squad, and of course been absolutely practicing a ton with this team. And you were mentioning before, like not necessarily ever getting sweeps. Even on I think it was CLO on Saturday, you've had a tough opponent, and then they kind of got cute in game number 2 after beating you. They played what I called a speed tanking comp, which means basically it was a bunch of squishies who were just hoping to dodge all the abilities and blow the team up. But it's a silly strat, and you did not fall for it. Regardless of how good those players on the other side were, he's still made them play super standard in order to get them in game number 3. But without further ado, we're loading into the game. Just a couple more moments here as we do. We should probably actually go over our opponents themselves. And it's going to be Deku up in the top lane. Yes, hi, it's me in the jungle. We have Puffles MIA in the mid lane. Triple lift on the 80 carry role, and Applause down on the support role. I like these guys. It's all easy names to pronounce and whatnot.
Yeah, nothing nothing inappropriate for the stream. You know, we're happy to see it and say it out loud as well. Yeah. Very kind of the Wichita Wolves to not put Danners through any uncomfortable positions tonight. Yeah, there's a lot of regret in those eyes, Danners.
No straight, no bores, to say the least. No Sejuani 1 tricks, to say the least. If you've If you've been here long enough, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But anyway, so of course, before we do hop into the game, big thank you to the sponsors that do make this possible. That being St. Clair College, Tim Hortons, St. Clair SRC, and the St. Clair College Alumni Association, EC Outlet, and of course the Zuckelman School of Business and IT. I'm sure you can hear in the backgrounds, we're actually about to get underway with this first game. Of course, best of 3 action should be in for a good night of action. And oh, in true Saints fashion, we're starting things off with a pause. So we're going to hang on a second.
This is why I do this, Dan. This is why I come out here 4 nights a week. I just love that gray screen. It is a beautiful sight to see. It's an unfortunate way to get started off with tonight's action, but it does give us time to see how these players are setting up. Obviously, just kind of in the base, looking to get going here as soon as this game gets unfrozen. I would love to see Saints go for an invade here. I really would.
You think? Let's take a look. So, of course, you got Mansfo, who could probably take a stun or a root or something at level 1. But what against this this squad of Wichita do you think that they'd be susceptible for an invade?
Wichita, at best, will have 1, maybe 2 crowd control abilities on their team. They'll likely have Galio Taunt available, potentially depending on whether he trains an ability coming out of base or not. Most Galios will obviously like to start Q for the lane harass, but they might have a Galio Taunt, and they also might have the Senna W. Again, depending, because Senna's typically like to start Q. So there's a very good chance that Wichita does not have access to a lot of crowd control. And since they're late game champions, their early game damage is not nearly as effective as the raw burst offered to you by something like Gnar, by something like Misfortune, by something like Leona's Q with the passive follow-up. So if the Saints are able to collapse on one champion, they should be able to blow them up and at least deal a significant amount of damage before the game gets going. But it looks like we are now underway. Unfortunately, to my dismay, it looks like we'll be 5-pointing, at least for now. Everybody kind of getting set up in their lanes to get a little bit of vision here on this river as we get started.
I mean, if you're not 100% confident with it, just play safe. So not a bad idea for both of these teams, I suppose, moving forward here. At least you're not going to overcommit to something that you may regret later on into the game as it moves forward. There we go.
Up in the top, it looked like Kubra was going to get a little bit aggressive here on the Ornn, but he's just happy to dance and swing around a couple boomerangs here and there. I saw Senna walking up, and I got a little excited down on the bot side. I thought we were going to have ourselves a little level 1 skirmish, but unfortunately, nothing exciting to see here, folks. Not just yet, at least. We'll have to wait until this laning phase gets a little bit more underway to get some action here, finally, in this game.
I think it was in week 1 of Upsurge, where it felt like there was just always a brawl level 1 in the red side at the red buff pretty much every single time, and it got rather amusing. But it's like, okay, we're going on 3 minutes and you guys are still brawling. What are you doing? But it's gonna be not that in the slightest this time by. Nice and quiet. Gonna leash off active force here on the blue buff. Has his favorite Yeti, of course, Rockland Nunu here this time by. Looking forward to seeing some snowballs flying around the map as this game goes on. And it's going to be a nice, quick little attack. That's an early cleanse coming out of Lazy after getting caught by the taunt.
Yeah, that's just kind of the unfortunate reality of coming to lane late. You know, if your team or your lane is kind of tasked with leashing for your jungler, you will often be responding to the lane state a little bit later than your opponents if they are not leashing. So we do know from this, obviously, that Talia started top and will be pathing down. So we can expect to see her bot lane in just about a minute or so here. But because of that, Lazy does get punished a little bit here at this level 1. Forced to burn the cleanse early. Mansfu looking for the Xenoblade, not going to find it here on this trade. And just a couple auto-traded back and forth here. Saints getting awfully low here on these trades. Just trying to do their damage and do what they can to get some pressure in their lane.
Yeah, honestly, maybe a little bit worse for wear of that one, but it was still relatively close. Granted, I believe Senna can slowly just kind of top herself off. I think, can she heal herself? Is it only allies? Yeah.
I believe it does self-heal a little bit. You know, you're testing my game knowledge a little bit. I'm not going to lie. Senna is one of the champions I don't have a whole lot of comfort with. That I invested myself too much into. But yes, I do believe there is a little bit of self-healing on that Q, and of course the damage as well when it goes through enemies. Senna being the supportive version of her counterpart.
We have a gank.
But here up top lane, we got a really nice gank here from Active Force with that snowball rolling on in. Ornn not going to burn the flash. He knows it's over. Kubra picking up the first kill in this game. Actually, that was Nunu got the last hit there, it looks like.
Yep, the unstoppable Yeti coming through and really helping out Kubra up in the top lane. Right as Deku is thinking about possibly getting aggressive, moves forward. I think he used his dash, and it was still on cooldown by the time that Active Force arrived. So an absolute sitting duck in that situation, going to boost, of course, both Kubra and Active Force. Active Force going to be happy to put a little extra gold in the pocket, but up to see he's making the trip down the mid lane. But at the same time, so is Hi, It's Me. So we do see that Snowball going to miss its target. A little bit of footwork coming out here from Puffles, but no mana to actually fight back with anything. Can they get one final hit? Active Force is going to start off strong, getting himself 2 kills, but holy burst damage coming out here from Yes, Hi, It's Me. And bye-bye Active Force in that situation. He just absolutely popped.
Yeah, that's one way to say hello for sure, Talia. Coming in nice with the big burst here into the middle lane. That's really one of those situations where if you're Nunu, you've got to flash that W or get gone. Like, that's just, there's so much damage coming out of that champion that not a lot of people really realize or respect. But even at level 3, Talia is a nightmare to deal with. Now, Loy, not having the cleanse available, has to flash away from the Galio engage. That's going to bite him in the butt a little bit later, not having access to either one of those summoners now for the next little while. But so far, this Nunu pick, I mean, we've seen Active Force on this Nunu. He does quite well with the champion and is doing a great job of impacting basically every single lane here already, only 4.5 minutes into the game, picking up 2 kills for himself here.
One thing things have to be careful of now, since Lazy does not have a flash, there is a Talia right around the corner. Active Force going to come sneak in here, though. Mansfo point blank, and hello, there comes a Yeti, but it's going to be a 3-on-3 skirmish, and that's a lot of AoE damage coming up from the side of the Wolves, but applause does go rather low. We're going to just back off. Both ends going to stop the fight, and for at least the moment, no teleports or anything blown. So it's going to keep things the way it is. Applause quite low, but otherwise everybody's okay.
Nice little 3v3 here to get going in the early game. Really good read from Active Force to know that Wichita Wolves were looking to set up that play. Now in the top lane, Curtis just having a good time on this Gnar here. When you get ahead against a champion like Horn, you know, that needs kind of to have that pressure in the early game, he doesn't really do a whole lot of damage by himself, at least not without having those levels and those items. So you can really take advantage of his weak points, and Kubra doing an excellent job of putting that pressure down onto Ornn. Does take quite a bit of damage in return, but he knows the jungler's nowhere to be found. He can safely crash his wave against the tower and get himself a nice little cheater recall here.
Yeah, he can back up. He's got the teleport still, so he wouldn't miss any minions if all of a sudden Deku decided to push this thing all the way to his turret. So he's nice and safe. Dragon going to be on the menu now here for Active Force and the Saints bot lane. Should be able to take that with ease, considering there was no vision around that whatsoever. That's a good start. Get yourself an Infernal.
Great way to play around the enemy pathing there. We know Tokyo just came bot, so it's very likely she's going to move her way topside. Our top lane has the push in, so there's no risk of him getting dove or taking any damage kind of in return. And bot lane slow pushing in means the freest dragon imaginable going over to this Nunu, who takes it quite quickly. In fact, able to get that cleared out and get back to his camp so he doesn't fall too far behind him.
And Miensfo is roaming. And we're going to have to see if he makes a trip to mid lane, as Puffles isn't really pushed up right now, but I'm curious as to seeing what the game plan is here. Just constantly walking around here with Active Force. This, in theory, is going to let Lazy kind of boost up a little bit in regards to his level, being able to get all that experience for himself. Yes, Hi, It's Me, and of course, and the rest of the squad is going to clear out some vision at this point. But yeah, they're a little bit too late for the party in that regard. Triple Lift forced to just kind of hang his head low and go back to lane.
Well done here from Active Force to go for that blue buff invade. It is going to get traded out by Talia here on the bottom side. Actually, Frez whipping an ultimate, trying to steal that away, but it does in fact get sniped. Miensfo was looking at potentially making a play there, but he's just going to walk back to lane here. And again, now in the top lane, another beefy brawl here.
Oh.
There's the Gnar, there's the ultimate, the Ornn flash, but it's not going to be enough. He's going to commit the ultimate as well, but it's only going to keep him alive for a little while longer. You're not getting out of this one, Deku. And another kill down in the top lane, going to Kubra.
It is exactly what that Saints top end jungle want to see. Of course, Active Force already had the 2 kills on him, so just really took his time, let Kubra make sure he secured the final blow onto that, get maximum gold, spread the wealth across multiple members of the Saints. And this is when I feel like the Saints do their best, when it's not just like everybody throwing their eggs into the bot lane basket, and everybody across the board can be a threat by themselves. They just do an absolute fantastic job in those kind of situations. So now that Curtis Kubra on the Gnar is not only rather tanky, but can still pack a punch himself. And Actiforce doing a fantastic job as well. Frez farming away, still hanging on, but still, across the board, Saints aren't doing bad. Granted, Frez is getting poked out in the lane a little bit, but he hasn't gone down. He's got himself an assist, and he's getting himself some help. That's going to be a nice stream shuffle coming out here from Pufflezo. Push Mansfo aside, turns that one around on its head. That being said, yes, hi, it's me, might be going down. One more shot away. Not quite. The auto attack not going to find the shot it needed to finish him off. So that unfortunate play there for the Saints had the right idea, but it's not going to actually get the job done.
Yeah, it's a bit of a risky play to force that dive onto the Azir when you know that he has the ultimate available. Ooh. And Flash being committed, and Frez does find his way out, but the Ignite's going to burn him down. Was committing everything to pick up that kill onto Frez in the middle lane. But just really an unfortunate trade here. Now again on the bottom side, we've got Scruff, and just like the St. Clair Saints to do this, fighting on all sides of the map at all moments, at all times. There's the Senna ulti going to pick up the kill onto Lozi. Mansfo's going to look for it. Is he going to be able to find this kill for himself? He doesn't have the Ignite available. He's getting kited now by Senna. He's going to get rooted under tower, but there's the final auto attack. Going to pick up that kill. Now in the top. Deku looking for a play, doesn't find the E-Connect there. Actiforce going to be able to walk his way out of that one. Mianso going to take the reset now, but oh my gosh, when there's fighting in one place, everybody else wants to join the party. It just doesn't stop with this team.
And it's still going, in fact. We're going to see the Unstoppable come out from Deku, but he's still getting bursted so badly here. Not even the ult is going to save him. How about another one cooked up to Kubra and Actiforce? This top lane doing fantastic alongside the assistance here from Actiforce. And it's going to be able to push that lead even further and probably make Lazzie's, make Frez's life a little bit easier, knowing that Cooper and Actiforce can probably dive in confidently as we move forward into the mid game and later on into the late game as well. But we'll have to see moving forward here. Bot lane a little bit behind in regards to CS, mid lane a little bit behind, but not by a catastrophic amount, to say the least.
Like this decision from Actiforce to funnel so many resources into the Gnar early. Not only does it give him incredible priority onto the Herald, you know what? Never mind. Don't let me finish my thought. Let's force another fight mid lane. There is another Stand United here from the... That's not the right ability name. It's Emperor's Divide. There it is. Oh my gosh. Emperor's Divide coming up from Azir to push off the Nunu out from underneath the tower. Not going to find that kill, but does force out the ultimate. Well done from Actiforce to put that pressure there. But as I was saying, up in the top lane, putting that pressure there, and you know what? I'm not going to get to talk about this, am I?
Absolutely not. Battle in the mid lane. Kubra is here alongside. Yes, hi, it's me. Kubra kind of alone. But here comes from the bot lane. Applause is here to make a mess out of things. But Mienzo is here as well. Walked his way up. Headshot with that shield. Takes care of him. Puffles versus Lazzy. Lazzy going to barely hang on to dear life. There's a good bullet time from across the side. Or across the ledge, rather. Deku going to be going down after taking down Actiforce for the first time, but this fight is still going, but there are some low health bars on the side of the Saints. Can they take triple lift down? They are, in fact, going to be able to. That's going to be 3 eliminations now here for Kubra, and a solid, I think that was 3, 4, maybe 1 on the side of St. Clair. So beautiful team fight, good teleports, and everybody got back just in time to even get themselves a dragon.
It was actually 4, if I remember correctly. That was Talia's first death. I can't remember if Talia died anywhere else. I think at the very end, Mianso did pick up the Talia there. So a 4-for-1 trade for St. Clair. That's exactly what you want to see with this kind of composition. These early fights before the enemy team has their item online. Really able to do that. And the reason they're able to do that, here we go, we're coming full circle. The reason we're able to do that is because we put that pressure into top lane at the beginning of the game. It gave St. Clair full control over the Rift Herald. It allows them to use this Rift Herald to get some early turret play gold. We can see Actiforce now committing it now, I believe, into the middle lane, looking to get a little bit of extra money now onto the Ziggs. But playing through top lane gives Gnar the full ability to win that side lane pressure against Ornn. Now with this Divine Sunderer completed, there is absolutely no way Ornn can contest them in a 1v1 in this lane. Basically having to concede the lane entirely. We can actually see him rotating in mid lane now here with the Call of the Forge God. Going to look for that ultimate onto Frez. It is not going to connect, but Frez is going to get picked off in the side here. Actually surviving here by the stretch of his life, but Talia leading him up now into the backline. Mianspo turning his sights onto Orange, but here comes Applause diving in on the Galio with the rush and the taunt. Triple Lift is here, but everybody on St. Clair is no longer able to take this fight. Triple Lift kind of coming in to clean up the scraps, but there's not a whole lot to clean up. And an unfortunate fight for St. Clair, trading 1 for 2 here against Wichita.
Yeah, sure they got the one, but they did not have enough resources to kind of follow up with that fight. The Saints were a little bit too slow rotating forward after that. And like there was no bullet time there from Lassie. As soon as Lassie showed up to the fight, Applause just zoned him out right away. He could not find the targets he wants. He doesn't want to be shooting Applause. He's too tanky. He wants to be shooting, of course, Puffles or something like that. And he was not able to even get anywhere near the range to make that happen. So solid job there from the tank line of the Wolves. Really make Lassie's life a little bit difficult. Frez, I don't know exactly what happened there, but he did bounce like so far into the fight, but he's going to keep on going here. Is this an ARAM? What is happening here? But this constantly like just throwing it down mid and making it happen. Granted, this is going to be the first tower down as Frez was able to finish off that mid lane turret. So there's a small victory in itself, some additional gold into the pockets, stretching this gold lead to about 3,000.
Well, you have to say, give credit where credit is due. And Wichita, these fights are not the fights they want to see, but it does deny St. Clair the ability to take that first tower while turret plates are up. So first tower does fall, but it falls after the 14-minute mark. So Frez, getting a little bit less gold than he would have perhaps desired here, is able to blow it up, of course, with the satchel charge. And we're going to be seeing a lot of that this game with this composition. These Ziggs bombs, these Ziggs caskets, just breaking towers at that 25% HP mark. Such a great way to just accelerate a push.
Absolutely. I totally forgot that was even a thing. That got changed not too long ago now, did it? Because I remember when he first came out, that wasn't a thing. But still, he's a demolition expert.
You mean like, I think 2 years now.
It just goes to show how often I see his Ziggs in professional play or competitive play. But anyway, we do have a battle down in the bot. Yes, high as me. He's going to be caught just on the very tip edge of that bullet time. He's going to be going down. Frez is here to join the party as well. They can probably make a push now towards that bot tower. And they get to get themselves one. And for sure, there's nobody. The Zer's here. Puffle's going to try something. But no, you don't want to get anywhere near this. This is going to go down nice and quick.
Absolutely nothing you can do here if you're Wichita in this situation. Talia is supposed to be that champion that carries you through the early game. And unfortunately, they're not getting that luxury this game. Cobra now looking for a play in the mid lane, but is going to get responded to by the Galio ulti and gets blown up before Mianspo can even find his way into the fight. Now Mianspo baiting a little bit for active force. Here comes the snowball. Good patience with the solar eclipse to wait until the Nunu was in position. The Senna now very low in the backside, does have the ignite on, but is actually going to find her way out. And a travesty for St. Clair here. A double kill now picked up for Senna. 4 kills going the way of Wichita Wolves, and a bit of an overforce from St. Clair, not respecting the global ultimate. We saw them respond to the Talia ult on the bottom side, but the Galio ult seemed to slip through their fingers, and that beautiful response from Applause is going to swing this play in Wichita's favor.
I mean, I know the Saints like to get scrappy, but they may have pushed one a little bit too far there. I know Frez was kind of stuck in the Dragon Pit, just trying to lob bombs over. It would have been solid considering they're all kind of clumped up in that small area. But other than his Q, which was pretty much at max range and crawling towards the fight, nothing else he had could really get any damage in there. Lassie came in, but he just got focused down pretty quickly, and the rest of the Saints squad were basically shorts to follow, if not taken down already by then. So a little bit of a unfortunate fight for St. Clair. The Wichita Wolves going to be able to take that and at least close this gold lead for at least a little bit. Saints still, of course, in lead for now, but still early on. And considering they want to try and push this and get as much as a lead as fast as possible in this early game and early mid game, they have to be careful trying to not find a fight like that again.
When you play against a late game scaling comp as an early game scaling comp, an even fight is a lost fight. You need to be able to get these kills and get them cleanly, because anything that goes the other team's way is going to be so much more valuable for them than it is for you. Active Force getting a nice little cheeky snowball in, looking for perhaps a bigger play, but does decide to back off once the Galio shows in the middle lane. But now Kubra looking for the flank, trying to provide some outside pressure onto the Dragon, is going to hippity hop his way out of there, and it looks like Wichita is going to be happy to concede this third Dragon. Now, a Cloud Soul on the table for St. Clair within the next 5 minutes.
Yeah, 3 going down that quick is just absolutely critical. Applause going to get jumped on here. Bullet time going to finish the job. Actually, Mianspo going to find himself the final hit in that situation. Active Force burning, but not quite going down. Must have thick fat and takes a little bit less damage from fire attacks because he's going to hang on this time by. But now looks like one more Herald attempt on the menu here for St. Clair.
This is a little bit risky. We just committed a number of ultimates in the middle lane, and now Wichita is already positioned in the top side of the map. If they decide to contest this, it could be a little dangerous, but it looks like they've called their bluff, and Wichita has decided they're not going to contest this fight. St. Clair happy to clean that up. Now 2 Heralds and 3 Dragons going the side of Active Force. Can I say jungle gap, Dan? Is that okay? Can I call it a jungle gap?
For the way it is right now, but we still have a long way to go. At least in the early presence, sure, yes, Hi, It's Me has found himself some decent aggressive opportunities to sneak in here, but the objective play from the Saints and then from Active Force specifically has been absolutely ridiculous in the best way possible. I like what I'm seeing so far, and that is definitely the difference, at least in regards to this gold lead as well. Because kill-wise, if anything, I'm looking at like triple lift on the Senna sitting there with 5 kills, and I am still a little bit nervous about that. But at least with the constant objective taking here from Active Force and the Saints, they've been able to keep this nice and close.
Game is not over by any means. There is obviously a gold and objective lead on the side of St. Clair, but you have to consider the scaling power of this Wichita draft. This Senna is going to infinitely scale with every soul she picks up. This Ornn, as soon as he hits level 13, level 14, and these ornaments start coming out for the blue side, you're going to see a dramatic shift in power here for this late game scaling comp. This Azir only on 1 item. Azir really doesn't start to take off until he starts hitting that 2 to 3 item mark. This Talia has been power farming this whole game. She's not able to make these aggressive gank plays that you typically see. In fact, she's basically condemned to the jungle now with a 24 CS lead onto the Nunu, and likely going to continue to expand that lead as the game goes on. It is getting very scary for St. Clair now because they're starting to run out of answers. They need to press the go button now before it's too late.
Absolutely, and then one of the things that may be coming on the board here is, of course, the fact that Baron just spawning up now. So if Saints could find themselves a good fight, can turn that, or they might even think about it a little bit early. I'm not sure. They're kind of hovering around it, but probably just for vision. And everyone else just farming up in the meantime. Of course, you want to get as much gold as possible, but like you were saying, like, you don't have the option to be passive with this composition that St. Clair has. So they better get ready to group up and make something happen sooner rather than later.
There is obviously the option to play for Soul, which I think is the call being made from this team. Actually, so as I say that, looking for the ult now onto Triple Lift, does find it and lands the Ignite as well. But the response, the quick response from Applause to get right in there, shuts that play down. Ultimates traded back and forth here, a couple pieces of damage getting thrown either way. But with no objectives on the map available to contest, Baron not really being a viable option, not much is going to come out of that play. Just a little bit of damage, a little bit of a little scary play from Yansper. Just gonna strike some fear to the enemy team. It's a power move is what it is.
Yeah, and, like, Applause, best bodyguard NA in that situation. Nicely done tanking the route there from Manso's Leona. Teleport gonna be coming in. The ult just randomly coming out here from Deku. Okay, just whip it out, why don't you? That thing's not a short cooldown either. So it's one big piece of utility off the board for what possibly could be another team fight. And with composition of Wichita Wolves, you kind of want everything you have for every single team fight. Otherwise, in theory, the Saints are probably going to out DPS you, outstun you, and whatnot. But we'll have to see. Everyone's just kind of resetting at this moment. Dragon 4, not too long from spawning. In fact, yeah, we're just kind of seeing it in the chat there. Just under a minute actually before it does come up. So it's going to be the next thing on the menu here in the sights of the Saints. If they can get all 4 nice and quick, that is going to be rather scary.
I like this decision from Active Force to get that bot lane shoved out. It gives him an angle to commit the Herald onto that play. You can actually see the Herald's about to despawn soon, so he needs to make a call, and he needs to make it soon. Otherwise, it's going to disappear, and they're going to lose access to that ability. But threatening to drop the Herald bot means that you can shift the Gnar down to the bottom lane and have constant pressure onto the Baron, because you will always have a bot lane pushing in. We actually see the Herald being committed now in the middle lane. Not going to be able to accomplish too much unless they commit to a fight. It's going to be a really tricky fight to pull off, so we'll have to see how this initiation comes, if it comes at all. And we can actually see already Active Force now snowballing in, does find the connector onto the Senna. There is the Solar Eclipse as well. Tons of shields from the Senna, but she is absorbing so much damage. Everything is getting thrown into her now. On the backline, we still have our 2 carries available. Logic and Fred gonna do their damage, actually finding the kill. Bloody Azir. That's 4 kills now to the side of Wichita Wolves. Kubra, unfortunately, in mini form, not able to impact this fight any more than what he already has. There is absolutely no way Wichita goes for Baron here.
That was absolutely painful there for Kubra. He kind of got zoned out a little bit by, yes, hi, it's me, I think. And by the time he was walking in there, he had his Mega Form ready, but by the time he got to the team fight, it was already all gone. But this is a risky play here coming out from the Wolves. They're so low. Can they actually pull this off? A few of them getting a little bit hesitant. And granted, less than a quarter down, they should be able to actually secure this, and barely by the skin of their teeth going to hang on to there. But actually, Cooper going for the dragon, trying to sneak the soul in. In fact, yeah, he's going to get it.
We get the soul, but all I can see in my head is a Gnar quadra kill, walking into that pit and cleaning up 4 champions with less than 300 HP. It's just so unlucky that teams get away with things like that. Well done from Wichita to make that call and push for it. But man, I would have loved to see a really aggressive pull from Kubra there to shut that play down. Get that montage moment. You know, sometimes you just
would have been the highlight. Yeah. That would have been the highlight, absolutely. But unfortunately, I think as he even went towards the dragon, he was at least at about half of his health. So maybe just wasn't quite confident, didn't have his Mega Form, so just wasn't quite feeling it. But at least now, the big victory in regards to having the soul is definitely a boon in their favor, but with all of these fights maybe not necessarily going their way anymore. In regards to the gold, it has basically been evened right up. Just a matter of if Saints could find some picks now.
As said earlier, an even gold lead is a victory for blue side. So now the pressure is on for St. Clair. Ornn has finally hit level 13. You're going to start seeing these ornaments coming out, these upgraded mythic items now. It's going to increase the power of his teammates' items and abilities by so much. With every level, the game is going to get increasingly harder. So now the timer has started for St. Clair. They need to win this game, and they need to win it fast, or it is going to be an absolute slugfest going into the late game.
And considering their the way that Wichita can scale, you don't want to have to rely on trying to strictly get picks. It's a stressful way to play the game, to say the least. And Activeforce going to defend that bottom turret. Are they going to actually try and jump on this? Activeforce still pushing forward. Lassie is here. Absolute Zero going to slow Applause down ever so slightly. They're really trying to make this happen. But actually, the sneak attack here from Deku, but he's in the middle of all the Saints. But now, all the Saints, we have ourselves a 5-on-5. Bullet time going to take Deku down. Lassie going to be credited with that one. The solid Gnar coming out here from Kubra, going to send Applause right back into his team. But it is going to be for the cost of the life of Miansfo. Cooper goes down as well. Lassie is getting aggressive. He's at least going to get himself the triple, but there are so many low health bars. Can Frez find the finishing blows he needs? They're just dipping and dodging away from his bombs, and it's going to end up being a 4-for-3 in the favor of Wichita Wolves.
Yeah, just a crazy fight. It looked really good for St. Clair, but I think Cooper just took a little bit more damage than he intended on, and that extra burst...
Oh, there we go, 4-for-4.
Nice little toss the ult from Frez to clean up that kill. But unfortunately, these Ziggs bombs in that team fight were not able to find their mark as well as we would have hoped, and unfortunately for St. Clair, it means the fight is not as good as you would have liked to see. They are coming out on this ahead, and of course every little victory is good, but we need to be seeing washes. These fights need to be clean, they need to be aces, otherwise it just gets harder and harder.
I feel like Ziggs would be absolutely perfect in these chaotic teamfight environments where maybe people aren't necessarily trying to track his bombs, but the later the team fight goes, and like the less people on the field, it just becomes that much easier to dodge those things. Because if you just don't drop it on their head, I mean, it's a very slow roll, to say the least. And having so much of your DPS relying on hitting those is rather taxing, rather nerve-wracking as well. There for Frez.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure. I'm not gonna lie. Like you are responsible for like 80% of your team's damage when you pick a champion like Ziggs. You need to be top of the damage charts. You need to be like king of the leaderboards. And it's hard to do that, especially when the enemy team is playing their fight line so well. This Galio and this Ornn are always doing an excellent job taking that damage. When I saw Deku's TP in the backline, I'm not gonna lie, I thought it looked a little troll, but he survived so much longer than I thought he would, just because of how tanky and how well he can absorb that damage coming from St. Clair. You know, these two big damage threats, this Misfortune and the Ziggs, just not able to burst through that raw Ornn magic resist.
You could tell there was a bit of miscommunication with that play, but at the same time, they still managed to make something of it, because exactly like you said, Deku was just so tanky, able to hang on as long as possible for the rest of the squad to at least get there. And then at least with the extra little ult kill there for Frez on the Ziggs, was able to at least make this a 4 versus 4. This could be a good opportunity here. Kubra is ready with Rage.
Deku caught out again, forced the flash over the wall, does still have the Call of the Forge God available if the team fight breaks out. Looks like St. Clair is just trying to set up for this Elder Drake. They know it's going to spawn roughly the same time that Baron does, and it is likely that they're going to prioritize this over the Baron. This Elder Drake is huge for champs like Ziggs and Misfortune because it makes your ability to pop the enemy team just so much more impactful. Now I'm kind of in an awkward spot here. Wichita getting the push priority on the mid lane. St. Clair zoned off at a really weird angle. Here comes the Orb ultimate, looking for a way in. Active Force, not where you want to be, sir. It's going to get blown up immediately. Applause, force the flash away from the bullet time. But now St. Clair's down a member.
And down a member and down the jungler as well, so no smite available as this dragon is right around the corner. Granted, Frez doing a decent job of just constantly keeping the wolves at bay, just constantly with bombs and mines all over the place, and even able to use the ultimate just to keep clearing waves. Lazi getting stupid aggressive on the triple lift is going to at least sack himself 1-for-1, but that is actually a shutdown going over to the Talia, and that's going to be brutal. Yes, hi, it's me. Definitely happy to pick up that bounty.
Yeah, it's plays like that where you kind of scratch your head a little bit, because as much as getting that kill is good for your team because you're taking out their carry, you're losing yours. And as the enemy team is just continuing to outscale, like, Ziggs damage to this stage in the game is not going to be able to compete with a Azir Talia, right? We're kind of in the mid game here. Now that Dragon getting picked up for Talia means that the Elder Dragon is going to be able to start applying its effects immediately. We can already see the big bird pop onto Kubra there as it comes flying out. That 20% health bar smackaroo coming up from that Elder Dragon. It's just so much damage, and it's really bad for St. Clair to lose that. If you're on the Saints team right now, you are very upset with how that fight went, because now the next 2.5 minutes are going to be absolutely brutal for any form of objective contest.
Absolutely, and Baron up as well. So Saints are on the move, getting ready to try and contest, but of course they're going to be able to burn this thing quick, and they're going to have to be very quick about it. Probably going to go down before Cooper is even available. Bullet time going to go right across the pit, and Lassie's going to get himself wombo comboed right out of the play, and everyone from the Saints just kind of running away at this moment. Active Force, does he look for the hero play? Not going to find it. Lots of damage actually going down onto Yes Hi It's Me, but he's going to hang on for dear life. They're going to get the Baron, they've got the Elder Dragon, and they're all going to get out with their lives.
This is a nightmare scenario. It's a late game scaling comp with Elder and Baron at the same time. This is a really, really tricky spot to be in, and if I'm honest, I don't know how St. Clair would even get out of this until these objectives despawn. You kind of have to hope and pray that these tier 2s, these tier 1s that you've been protecting all through the early game will at least buy you enough time to find a good fight later. You know, any game is winnable right up until the Nexus explodes, but man, oh man, this is a tough one.
I mean, small victories in the sense that you have Frez on the Ziggs that can just keep clearing waves for days from a relatively safe distance, but it's a matter of finding a safe spot to actually get that done. If you're in the middle of the lane, not under tower, not around teammates, it doesn't matter if you can wave clear if you're already dead. And we do see Puffles and the rest of the Wichita Wolves just pushing forward. That mid turret just basically got melted in like a couple seconds. Absolutely brutal. They're going to try and clean this up, but of course even the little Canyon minion getting involved has that bonus range, of course, from the Baron. And lots of split pressure as well. Deku down the bot lane still. Going to be plowing away on that turret. And, well, I guess Kubra going up top as well. Going to find himself one to at least maybe trade this one out. But a little bit of a scary time here for the Saints.
I actually really like this call from Kubra because you know that it's going to be almost impossible to contest the enemy team on your inhibitor right now. You're okay giving up 1, maybe even 2 inhibitors at this stage. You have the Ziggs bombs to clear the wave from a distance, and it looks like Frez was able to do that fairly well. Oh, actually flashing forward, looking for a pick here now. Applause caught out a little bit in the front, but he is just so tanky. His shield just lasts forever. He's going to use the ultimate to get his way out of there, but Kubra now with the flank, about to go mega. Can he do it in time? Are going to find the pick onto triple lip. but Kuba's going to go down in return. Now caught out in the front line, Deku here against active Force and Frez. Frez trying to throw as much damage onto him as he can, but it's just not going to happen. This Orb is just far too tanky. A 1-for-1 trade now. Gnar for Senna. And honestly, that's pretty good in this situation. You're happy to see that if you're the Saints.
I'm very surprised that turned out the way it did. I was very worried there for Kubra, thinking he was just going to get absolutely melted, and he lasted much longer than I was expecting. But yeah, getting the 1-for-1, getting the Senna off the board is going to at least be a small victory, but we do see Saints going for another battle, and it's going to be Activor's getting melted alongside Lazzy. The Azir seems to be turning on at this point here. Puffles hanging on for dear life, has the shield as well. Mienzo's really trying to get the finishing blow on this, but he's not going to be able to do so. Triple kill over to Puffles. The 4-for-3 extended fight here, not going in the favor of Saints.
Oh my gosh. These fights, man. I'm looking at them and it's like, they're just crazy. It's just so much chaos. Oh, this I saw
Points for
this
trying.
fire out and I kind of had to hold my breath a little bit there. I know that's not really my job, but man, sometimes you just gotta hope and pray for these Ziggs bombs. Like, Prez is just having the time of his life, whipping these things out anytime he can. But these team fights, like, sometimes they're just happening, and I'm not sure why they're happening. You know, like, I feel like if you're St. Clair, you just want to get what you can and get out. You don't want to stick around and keep the party going, because Azir is happy to keep on dancing. This man is pumping out constant damage, and now with a death cap picked up, anything that you thought was bad before is going to get 10 times worse now with that huge amplification of magic damage.
Yeah, Saints need to find picks before even trying anything at this point here, because they're just going to get absolutely destroyed, I feel like, in a 5v5 setting. They're going to have to try and, like, wiggle themselves around. They really need to make some vision and some, like, sneak attacks kind of work in their favor. Otherwise, it's going to be a rough time for them, to say the least here. Even if they get, like, I'm trying to think, even if Kubra manages to find himself the 5-person stun, I highly doubt that that will necessarily be enough to actually win the fight, considering the tankiness of this Wichita squad.
Yeah, now it's kind of just like another objective game. Like, we've gotten all these pushes, we had this Elder power play, we had this Baron power play, and now it's just doing whatever we can to control a vision over top of the dragon. This is what you're thinking if you're Wichita, is how can I just push and keep on pushing? You know, get my foot on their neck and just push. Get that game done and wrapped up, because we are so much stronger now. We've hit those late game power spikes. You can already see, if you're looking at the ornaments, we can see now the Luden's Tempest upgraded for Talia. The Andre's Torment now completed.
Oh my gosh.
I can't even talk about the items active force is already dead. Like, it's just that it happens that fast, because that's how strong this Wichita draft is. As soon as you get to that 30-minute mark, the game is just over. Like, it's so much damage. Like, look how fast this other's gonna fall. That, like, 5 seconds damage. 5 seconds on a huge, ginormous dragon. Now Mienzo stepping up a little bit, not quite sure what he was trying to accomplish there, but is going to find himself falling as well. And now St. Clair is scattered and trickled. They're furiously trying to retreat back to their base, and they're just not going to find it. Here's Kubra trying to flank the wave a little bit. Ziggs bomb going in to blow up that wave and slow down Wichita's push, but it is just like waiting out the clock at this point. For yeah, cheeky little recall there for Lazzy, gonna find his way out just in the next time.
This is going to get rough again. So, of course, Elder Dragon in the favor of Wichita. Baron going to be right back around the corner as well. Do have Active Force back here, so in theory we could have ourselves a smite fight if everyone gets into position. But you got super minions constantly plowing through, and then how do you even contest this team with how much damage they're doing? Like, I'm just extremely nervous for the Saints moving forward for these next couple minutes. And it's going to be the For Glory Ziggs bomb. Is it going to do it? Not quite. Solid attempt, though, however. But it's going to be picked up here by, yes, hi, it's me on the Talia. Secured. And now everybody is going to probably group up, push the top lane, it looks like. It's going to force Saints into a 5v5, which I'm not sure how they're going to be able to handle this.
Yeah, this is going to be a rough fight. If anything, St. Clair might have to just give up the inhibitor and wait out this Elder Dragon. If they try to fight under Elder, the slightest pop from either Talia or Azir is just going to havoc for St. Clair. We can see this Nunu, who was doing so well in the early game, is still only on 2 items, actually just finishing his 3rd item now at 40 minutes. Like, they are so far behind compared to how they were in the early game. A 10k gold deficit now against a late game scaling team. It's going to be very hard to execute these team fights. So they're going to have to look for a pick, maybe find something onto the Azir. The Senna is just far too strong with these shields coming out from this Locket of the Iron Solari, from this Galio ulti. But maybe if they can find themselves onto the Azir in the back line as the Galio engages, might be their only way in.
I like this idea, considering that the Wichita squad is actually split up at this moment. Deku possibly going to be a casualty in this situation. Bullet time is only tickling him, but he is going to eventually go down. But it's Leah jumping into the fight, actually triple lift, going to make the 4 glory play up in the top lane. He's going to be able to take the inhibitor by himself. No mana, though, however, for a triple lift, so he's not going to be able to keep his team alive as this fight extends, but at the same time, they just take the 2 inhibitors in extremely fast fashion. But Saint's going to let them get away with this. They're going to try not. The triple lift getting extremely low. Curtis jumps on, and he's going to get the Gnar. He's going to throw triple lift back, and he's going to get, it will be the Galio as well. Applause going down. Can the Saints get this without hyperextending themselves, however? Mianspo going in deep, but he's so low, he's just going to pop. Lastly, he gets a shutdown. That's a good shutdown, actually, right onto the Talia. And there we go. Nice little bounce here for Freza Ziggs. Can they actually turn this into some decent base damage, if not a victory?
The victory is going to be very hard to pull. The death timers are quite long for Wichita, but we can already see the Ornn coming up in 5 seconds, Senna in 30. At best, maybe an inhibitor if After Force tanks it. That was a really nice call from St. Clair to catch the split push and punish the overextended one. They know the Ornn is the weakest member on his team currently, not having much gold to his name. So they get that pick and they snowball it into a couple more. So very well executed from St. Clair. These fights, however, if Wichita plays them properly, they should be never going that way. So St. Clair really pushing the pressure here. Now actually going for the game end with 4 seconds left on some respawns here for the side of Wichita. They're going to get this pick onto Deku, but there's the Senna ulti. It's not going to find anything.
Oh my goodness.
Put the ultimate onto the backline. Can they pick up triple lift? Triple lift
That's
might
huge.
be the game there.
Holy.
That's huge. St. Clair swings it.
Holy moly, they actually managed to pull that off. How the heck did they manage that one? Absolutely huge call and huge play by St. Clair. I'm holding my breath as of that moment. I know technically I'm not supposed to hold my breath as the commentator, but how they managed to pull that off was absolutely huge. Yes, they dealt with the Ornn. Everybody else was respawning. They were ready to get there, but Saints had some decent damage of their own, and if we had the Zig strictly for structure damage, that came in clutch in that last moment. Holy smokes.
That's the MHNers shaking my head. There is no way that should have happened. The Saints defied all odds and picked up a win here against the Wichita Wolves. Like, I'm not just fighting my tongue. Like, my teeth are just, like, fully into my gums right now. Like, I can't, I got nothing to say. Everything I said was just completely disproven. It's just a team gap, Dennis. What can I say? My boys are too good. That's all there is to say.
That is absolutely awesome, though, but still just absolutely crazy how it took one team fight. The call to go in when there was the 2 members up top and 3 in the middle, and even the ones in the middle, they were kind of scattered. They jumped right in onto the Ornn right away. It made it the 4v5. They made it to they got the pick that they were kind of looking for. Granted, it was onto a tank, but they were still barely able to spin out around to the point where 4 of them were still alive at the end of the team fight. Push it on down, and they managed to somehow plow through there at enough speed to get the job done, and I'm actually extremely proud of them for hanging on for dear life. Now, I know as a coach in this situation, it's going to be a little bit interesting, because you told me earlier prior to the cast that like you want to see the challenge. You want these guys to sweat a little bit. How are you feeling after a win like that?
No, I mean, I think it's good. And honestly, I like wins like that from a coaching perspective because it shows me 2 things. One, it shows me that there's a lot of work to be done on our execution and translation from early into mid game. You know, it gives us a learning opportunity. This is something that we can work on. This is something that we can fix so that we can turn our wins into 17-minute wins. But on the other hand, it also shows that my team has the ability to swing an impossible game in their favor, and that there is a lot of raw talent that I can work with. These are encouraging things, right? You know, a lot of people like to think that coaches want to see their teams mess up so they can yell at them, but that's not true. I want my teams to win. That's why I'm coaching them. So when I see them win like this, it's happy. It's a good time. It's a good moment. I am quite embarrassed about how aggressively I was saying it wouldn't happen, and it did. But you know, I got to put a little bit more faith in my guys for pulling that off. I do have to say, however, in my defense, Triple Lift got hot by every single Leona ultimate that game, every single one. And I feel like if he dodges even just one, that whole game is different.
And I just can't help but think, like, the fight happens in the middle. Triple Lift is still up in the top lane getting the inhibitor and kind of left himself, like, wide open very shortly after. The fight was basically done by the time that they even showed up. And then, yes, Leona ult right on target. Mansell able to lock them down, and then it just went haywire there for the Wichita Wolves, but it looks like we're going to be in for a fantastic series, and we're going to be hopping into Game 2 very shortly. However, we're going to take ourselves a very quick 5-minute break to get the lobby all set up and get into the next draft phase. So hang tight. Within 5 minutes, we'll get underway, and we'll see you then.